Hello, and welcome to a new episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. I am your host, Katerina. Each week, we dive into a blend of topics that resonate with the soul. Whether you're an architect enthusiast, have a passion for wanderlust, want to discover holistic approaches to rejuvenate your body and mind, or are intrigued to learn about Vastu Shastra with a modern approach, you've come to the right place. Join me as I sit down with inspiring, like-minded women from various walks of life. We will delve into their journeys to discuss the challenges and moments that define their paths. So sit back, relax, and let the spark of positive energy ignite your curiosity. Hi, it's me, Katerina. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to share with you something that can change the trajectory of your life. If you are ready to start your own architecture firm but are feeling overwhelmed by where to begin, I understand, because I felt the same way when I first embarked on my entrepreneurial journey. This is why I have created the ebook, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. This comprehensive workbook contains everything I wish I had known before starting my own firm. From building a solid business plan to creating your brand, The Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm offers a step-by-step guide tailored to your timeline, whether you're launching your firm today, next month, or in a few years. Dive into essential topics like financial planning, organization strategies, and how to secure your first client, all in one convenient resource. That's right, you don't have to spend hours researching. I have done that for you so you can focus on building your business. And that's not all. With your purchase, you'll also receive an exclusive meditation for business owners, mindfulness tips, a crystal guide for support, and gratitude exercises to help you stay focused and positive throughout your journey. Turn your dream of having your own firm into a reality with the Mindful Blueprint for Launching Your Architecture Firm. Click on the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Now, let's dive into the episode. Today, I am joined by Emily Miotto, mystic mama, theta healer, and host of the Little Awakeners podcast. Emily helps women on their journey through motherhood by advocating for self-healing, breaking cycles of trauma, and coming back to a place of learning to trust your own intuition. Emily, welcome to From the Honeycomb podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be diving into all that we're going to dive into today.
No, I'm excited. As you know, we begin every episode by sharing something that we are grateful for in the present moment. So, Emily, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for the vast amount of support that I have around me. As a mom, you need support. And I'm very grateful for my husband, for his work and being able to watch my daughter while I do something like this. For my parents, my in-laws, just the support that's around me all the time. Yeah, I am extremely grateful for that every single day.
That's amazing that you have so much support around you. Motherhood is coming up eventually, one day soon for me. It's so great to hear that you have so much support around you. So although I haven't experienced motherhood, I know there's a lot that goes into it, of course. And so that's amazing that you are feeling held and supported by your community.
Yeah, it's something that I hope that every mom out there can experience as well.
I love that. So, Emily, share with the listeners your kind of story on what brought you to advocating for other women and what's brought you here.
So I started on my journey to self-healing and spirituality probably when I was about 18, 19. I was in university and stuff happened. I experienced this random physical dis-ease of what I found out later was celiac disease. And I went down just the rabbit hole of healing myself with energy and kind of stepping away from the medical system. So I found a healing modality called Theta Healing, which completely changed my life, not only for my health, but also for my business, my relationships. And fast forward to when I entered motherhood, I experienced postpartum depression. And before I was a mom and I was pregnant, I was like, I got this in the bag. Like, I'm doing all this healing. I'm truly connected. And I got kicked in the arse hard. And I experienced postpartum depression. I was angry. I was frustrated. I had anxiety. And it was only once I came back to those spiritual practices that I realized the beliefs that I had manifested the postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
The trauma from my daughter's birth had also affected my connection with her. And I started using healing modalities on my daughter and on me to really bring us back to a sacred bond between us, because mother and child is such a strong connection.
Mm-hmm.
And through that, I realized how much the Western society takes us away from that beautiful bond.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is having us go into a hospital to give birth and having us go through C-sections and then cutting the umbilical cord right away, having us train our kids to sleep independently, all of these different things that are happening that's taking away that beautiful bond, even vaccinating our kids when we have the power to do it ourselves. So I really started advocating for, well, this is what I'm doing for my daughter, and this is what other moms can do as well. This is what I've done for myself. This is what you can do for yourself as well. And through that, I've been able to alchemize that postpartum depression without having to take medication, without having to go to therapy, working on my own belief systems, working on aligning my energy every day. My daughter sleeps better now by working on her energy.
Mm-hmm.
She's teething right now, but we work on, again, her energy to allow it to be a painless experience. And so fast forward to now, and I'm on this journey to using the tools that I've learned throughout my years to now help moms to feel empowered to trust their intuition, parent against the norm, and to raise their kids to be fully connected to their own spiritual essence.
Can you share with us the birth of your daughter? Were you in a hospital or was it a home birth?
No, so I wanted to do a home birth, and I wanted to do a water birth. I had in my head everything planned out, and nothing went as planned. I was at my parents' place, and I ended up giving birth on the bathroom floor.
Oh
And
my
when I
gosh.
tell you, this bathroom floor or the bathroom is like super tiny, super, super tiny. And if there was
Wow.
4 people in there, I have no idea how it managed. But as soon as she was born, so like 2 seconds before she was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around her neck and she stopped breathing. So everything up to that point was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And so immediately they cut the umbilical cord, which I did not want them to do. They took her away from me. When they took her away and they took her to a different room to try and resuscitate her, she already started breathing. But apparently, for protocol, they have to take the baby then directly to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get to see my daughter until 3 hours after. I didn't even get to touch her until three
Wow.
hours after. And
Wow.
I was, legs spread open on the bathroom floor
Mm-hmm.
by myself, because now the baby is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Crying my eyes out, not sure if my baby's gonna live or not, and bleeding out. They had to cut me open. Like, there was so
Oh
much
my gosh.
trauma there that happened. Nothing went as planned. And it affected my relationship with her, because I
Mm-hmm.
felt like there was that disconnect. We didn't get that golden hour together. I didn't get to
Mm-hmm.
keep I'm not entirely sure what the name of it is, but like that jelly stuff on them when they come out of
Oh yeah,
the
I don't know what that's
vaginal. Yeah.
called. Yeah, but I know what
Yeah.
they
But all
call.
that,
Yeah.
I wanted to keep that in her. I wanted to do a lotus birth, which means that you actually have the placenta and keep the placenta attached to the baby until the umbilical cord naturally falls off.
Mm.
And it allows them to gain a lot more of the nutrients from the
Mm-hmm.
placenta that they need to help their immune system. I want to have that golden hour with her. And because of that trauma, it really did affect my relationship with her until we did the healing.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me and with the listeners. That is quite a story, and I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Then, how did you notice what the disconnect was?
So I didn't feel, and this pains me to say, because the idea of when you're a mom, as soon as you're a mom, you're going to unconditionally love this little being, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
nothing you've ever experienced before. I didn't feel that. There was almost like, yeah, this is mine, but is it?
Mm-hmm.
It was a weird, it was a weird feeling of separation, of distance, of disconnect. And I know that was a leading part of the postpartum depression. It was
Mm-hmm.
a leading part of what almost gave me that permission unconsciously to be a little more aggressive with her. Like, I never hurt her, but
Mm-hmm.
rocking a little bit harder than probably I need to
Mm-hmm.
get her to go to sleep. I didn't have that empathy
Mm-hmm.
that I thought that I would have, that I wanted to have, and that I know I could have had if, my birth went as planned and I was able to get that beautiful, sacred, peaceful, calm time with her. And I know it also affected her because she's a very clingy baby, like Velcro
Mhm.
baby to the extreme. She had a lot of trouble sleeping.
Mm,
So she would always need to be like right next to me. And when I tuned into her energy, I got that she felt like I was going to leave her again, like I did at
mhm,
birth.
mm,
Right. So we don't realize how much our children are aware even before they become consciously aware, how many
mhm,
beliefs and thoughts they're actually holding on to and that trauma. And so she was afraid that I was going to leave her. So she was always right by my side. She couldn't sleep. And so together, that didn't really create a very harmonious relationship between the two of us until I changed that.
mm. That's amazing that you were able to find a way to connect with her because I know someone who maybe wouldn't be in the spiritual world or would understand. Because I know, some people may think like I'm very fully into the spiritual world. Some people are like, that's very woo woo, I get that. But there is something about energy. And I think that's where your like mother's intuition came in. And you were like, there's something off about the energy. Like my baby is beautiful, healthy, but you could tell there was that disconnect. I love that you were able to then find a solution and do some energy healing. I'm curious, like, what is energy healing? How did you connect with her energetically?
Yeah, so the modality that I use most often, as I am a certified instructor in it, so I'm
Hmm.
kind of obsessed in it, is called Theta Healing.
Hmm.
So it's really about changing your own brainwave state to access universal consciousness, to access your subconscious mind. So I did all my work through the guidance of what I call creator. It can be God, source energy, light and
Hmm.
love. And I tuned into her higher self. So for kids that are unable to speak, even for adults who are unconscious, can't speak, you tune into their higher self and you can receive the messages that they want to share with you. So I figured out that she had the belief that she didn't belong here on earth. And a lot of kids feel that way because they've come from beautiful source energy, light and love to
Hmm.
this very dense physical plane. And they're like, well, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
I don't want to be here. I want to be
Yeah.
where like I'm flying. Like,
Hmm.
I'm essence. And so she held on to that belief, and that was really affecting her again, her sleep, her mood, her eating habits. So by tuning into her higher self, by tuning into her aura, to her chakras, I've been able to help her express herself emotionally. I've been able to help ground her. I've been able to
Hmm.
see what she needs on a day-to-day basis that's going to allow her to feel completely supported. It's going to allow her to feel in optimal health. And it's really just about, through theta healing, we say that we have to see it, and it
Hmm.
doesn't have to necessarily be with your physical eyes, but just either feeling it, knowing it. You have to witness the healing being done.
Hmm.
And it's as simple as that. You just
Hmm.
ask for a command of, let me see my daughter's chakras. And you will be shown what area is maybe weaker, what area maybe is a little bit too big, which tends to be her throat chakra, as she's a real big screamer. So you can then help balance it to keep her aligned. And every single day, I ask, what does my daughter need to keep her balanced? And some days it's going out in nature and grounding her feet. Some days it's you have to listen to heart chakra frequencies.
Hmm.
Every day I chant with her because that's what I was guided to do. So it's allowing you to use a bunch of other healing modalities
Hmm.
through the guidance of your own intuition and the source connection that we're all connected to.
That's amazing because that was my question is like, how do you connect with her when she can't give you an answer? When she can't tell you, mom, now I want milk and
Yeah.
now I want to take a nap. And so that's amazing that you're able to tap into that energy and figure out even with the chakras and kind of connect with her. That's incredible. It's like magic. I love it. I love it. Can you share with us more about theta healing? Because I definitely am in like the spiritual world and a lot of the energy healings. And that's why I was wondering, how do you do energy healing on a baby? But I haven't heard of theta healing. So can you describe to us what that means?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm pretty sure every time I've gone on a podcast and they're like, what is theta healing? I've never heard of it. It's just not as common as other healing modalities, but it is so powerful. And I tell everyone who goes through it, it's like a foundational
Mm-hmm.
spiritual energy healing that you can do every other modality under.
Mm-hmm.
So theta healing is altering your brainwave states to theta, the vibration of theta, through meditation. And theta is a very powerful, malleable state of your mind that you can, again, access universal consciousness because you're in that deep, hypnotic, meditative state. But as well, you access your subconscious mind where you hold all the beliefs that shape your life because everything comes down to energy and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So by accessing this theta brainwave state, which, funny enough, is what our kids are in from the ages of 0 to 7. So we're
Mm-hmm.
coming back to that same age where we picked up all of our beliefs. And by accessing our subconscious mind, we can then dig into it to access beliefs from this lifetime, past lifetime. We're able to see our talk to spirits. We're able to see our divine timing. We're able to see the Akashic records, our chakras, because we're in that very powerful, connected state. And we don't do the healing ourselves as the healers. We just witness a healing done through, we use the energy of creation. That's how we say it in theta
Mm-hmm.
healing, but it could be God, source energy, like I said before. And we just witness it being done. And through that, you're able to shift the programs that you have within your body that are shaping your life, whether it is around money, whether it is around trauma that you've held from birth, whether it is around how you view yourself, if you actually love yourself. And that will change both your biology on a genetic level. It can heal your ancestors, it can heal future generations, and it can,
Wow.
like, there's so much it can do because the primary thing is that you're coming back to your own connection to source. And
Mm-hmm.
through that, anything's possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? There is no limit because everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a beautiful foundational healing that then you can then do. I have practitioners that now do Reiki from that theta brainwave state. You could do crystal healing through the guidance of creator and your intuition of what needs to be done. So it can do so much. I hope that was helpful. It's like the shortest
Yes.
way I can describe it.
No, no, that was really great. That was really perfect. I think that really summarized it to give it an understanding of what theta healing is. And so when you work with your clients, when they reach out to you, are they mostly local or is it like virtual? I mean, I know having Zoom and the access to the world now is just incredible. So how do you work with clients?
Before COVID, I used to work in person.
Mm.
Now, especially since I have my daughter, I work more online.
Mm-hmm.
But again, because our brainwaves are just like Wi-Fi, it
Mm-hmm.
works just as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some people like the comfort of their own home. So that's how I
Mm-hmm.
usually work with them. Usually we do either one-off sessions, which I used to do, but now it's more of, bigger programs that are going to help you change all parts of your life through this work, through the aligned conscious steps that I'm being guided to share with the client. Yeah, most of it's online now.
Mm. And how do you help then women, like especially with the breaking the cycles of trauma? That's something I know you help them with. How can you help? Is it through theta healing then that you help to break the cycles of trauma, depending on, because you mentioned it helps with past lives and past experiences, even from your birth. So is then that how you help break the trauma?
Yeah, so I do a combination of coaching, the conscious work,
Mm-hmm.
and theta healing, the subconscious work. And those two together allows you to work with the whole mind instead of
Mm-hmm.
just 5% of the conscious mind. And then that 95% is telling you it's not going to work, right?
Right.
So I do both. And through this, we dive into those beliefs that you picked up from your parents, those
Mm-hmm.
generational beliefs, and how it's showing up to you as a parent for your own kids, right? Noticing your own triggers, noticing those moments when you just want to like scream and yell and run away from your kid.
Mm-hmm.
And those beliefs or those triggers are going to tell you what beliefs you're holding on to, what beliefs you no longer want to pass on. Even just take a look at your life. What are things that are going on in your life that, you just don't necessarily like? Chances are it came from your parents. So by
Mm-hmm.
accessing that subconscious mind, we reprogram those beliefs in an instant. We download the person with programs that support that new reality. And then the other part, that conscious part, is the conscious practices to do on a daily basis that are going to help support this new way of living. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I've had a client that she had the belief that she needed to discipline her child in an aggressive way
Mm.
because that's what her parents did to her.
Mm.
She knew nothing else. And
Mhm.
so she thought that if I don't discipline my child, they're going to walk all over me. They're going to be seen as a bad kid in society. And
Mm.
so when we dug down into her subconscious, we found that she actually had the belief of not being good enough. And that
Mhm.
was the belief that she picked up because of how her parents raised her, right? That no matter what I did, I was disciplined. I'm not good enough. Now I'm afraid my kid's going to do the same.
Mm.
So by digging into your own subconscious, especially as a mom, because our
Mhm.
role is so powerful for our kids, by changing those belief systems, we then allow our kids to have new empowering beliefs.
Mm.
Because the moment that we conceive our child is the moment we as moms start passing on beliefs to our kids through our bloodstream and through our placenta.
Mm.
So if we can start
Mhm.
doing this work, especially if you are pregnant,
Mhm.
then you already set your child up for those empowering, liberating, free life that us as adults are striving for now.
I didn't even think about that, that once you conceive, it makes sense that you're already, because your baby's, feeding from you the energy. Can you prepare for it? Like, let's say you're preparing to start trying to conceive. Is there any preparation work someone could do?
Oh, for sure. Definitely beliefs around, and this is huge for especially moms who or women who cannot conceive.
Mm.
There are beliefs there that are stopping you from conceiving. There are
Mm.
fears. I know one mom that she couldn't conceive no matter what she did. She was taking all the pills, all the vitamins, everything. And through reprogramming her subconscious mind and through digging into her subconscious mind, we found that her mom actually died when she gave birth to her. So
Mm.
she had a subconscious fear that if I give birth, I'm going to die. And our
Mhm.
subconscious mind's only job is to keep you alive.
Right.
So energetically, it was not allowing her to get pregnant, no matter how much consciously she's like, I
Mhm.
want the baby,
Mhm.
because it was afraid that it was going to kill her. So by
Mhm.
changing that belief, by releasing her from that, she was actually able to conceive. So there's
Mm.
so much work that you can do. And especially since the moment you conceive, your child knows if they are wanted or unwanted. So
Mm.
there's actually a practice in theta healing called healing the baby in the womb, where we send that healing and love to a baby. And this is so powerful, especially if, you were that mistake child
Mhm.
that they always say,
Yeah.
or if your mom was in a very stressful situation when she was pregnant,
Mhm.
that can really have an impact on the psychological and energetic development of a baby and the belief systems of if they're wanted or not. And like that can carry on until you're an adult, right?
Mm.
That can affect your own relationships. That can affect how you receive money. That could affect
Mm.
how you survive in this world. So
Mhm.
even just doing that healing in itself is so powerful for the prep work of getting pregnant.
Mm. That's really interesting to hear, and especially the client that you worked with, that it's just so powerful because I've heard of it. There's one woman I saw who does like Reiki healing for wombs if you can't conceive as well. And so that's been really interesting to hear and to think about. Yes, you can have all these vitamins and everything to help you. And it's amazing to think that the baby knows if it's wanted or not. And I think there's always a reason certain things happen and why, you have the baby that you have in the time frame that you have it in. So that's really interesting to hear.
Oh, yeah, your baby chose you.
Yeah.
As a mom, they choose you. And it's to help you learn those lessons that maybe you didn't want to learn, maybe you've been running away
Mhm.
from. There's like a contract between you two,
Mhm.
and then you're also going to help them, right? So they picked you for a reason.
Mm. I know there's that book Spirit Babies. One of my friends told me I should
Hmm.
she recommended it to me. She's like, "You should start reading that because that's something is connecting with the spirit of the baby." Is that a book you've read?
I haven't actually read that, but
Oh,
I've
really?
connected with, yeah, I know. I've heard of the book and it's on my list. But once you have a kid, there's very little time to read.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's on my list
Yep.
when I'm going
Yep.
to get to it. But I remember before I had my daughter, I connected with her energy in the Akashic records. So I
Wow.
knew she was coming. I knew I was going to have a girl, like no doubt about it. I knew her name, everything. So it was, yeah, it was very, very powerful. And I was able to even use my practices and healing and energy to know the moment I got pregnant. And
Wow.
so that one I was able to like, okay, gotta cut out all these things that I no longer need.
Mhm.
Gotta do the prep work, gotta make sure my vessel is ready for her, and also make sure that I was in a vibration of you're wanted. You're
Mhm.
wanted, you're wanted, you're wanted.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how long were you doing theta healing before you got pregnant?
5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you've been practicing. And when
Yeah.
you were first doing your theta healing, were you still coaching other people? Not even just women, was it anybody? And then now have you transitioned to mothers just through your own personal experience?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was like, I wanna heal everybody and anybody. I
Yeah.
want because I know how powerful this modality is, and through that, I've kind of slowly started to shift into now
Mhm.
it's just mothers because I realize how important it is as our job to raise these new earth children because
Mhm.
they have needs far greater than past generations.
Mhm.
And they're the leaders of what's going to shift us into this new earth. It's going to help raise the conscious collective of the planet. So I realized the importance that moms have in their job to raising these kids. And so I was just channeled. This is who I have to work with. So I just follow what I've been guided, and here we are.
I love it. And so, how do you plan on working with your daughter as she grows up? Because obviously, there's soon she'll eventually be speaking, and then into the teenage years, and when she doesn't want to speak to you again. So, have you thought about how it will be connecting with her as she goes through the different stages of life?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes I end up staying up at night thinking of all the ways that I'm going to connect with her. But I know that so through working with subconscious, I know that there are certain things that allow us to manifest our reality that we want and certain words that stop us. So for example, the word don't, the brain can't pick up that word.
Mm,
So I'm gonna continue to make sure that I avoid saying don't touch that because in
mhm,
her mind she's gonna say touch that. And
mhm,
then if I get upset, she's gonna think, well, I'm so confused, I can't trust my own intuition.
mhm,
So or not avoiding saying good girl because
mhm,
that instills I have to act a certain way to receive love. So
mhm,
it's that external validation. Avoiding if she hurts herself,
mhm,
avoiding like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay?"
mhm,
Because then again, that says, "Oh, well, now I receive attention if I am suffering."
mhm,
So there's so many little things that we can do as moms to shift how our child picks up these beliefs, right? So
mhm,
I'm making sure that I'm using my knowledge that I have from theta healing and the subconscious to instill those empowering beliefs within her. I'm going to be meditating with her all the time. I'm going to
mhm,
teach her how to do theta healing on herself. I'm going to teach her her chakra system, what she needs. The most important thing I'm going to do is to ensure that she trusts her intuition
mhm,
because us as adults, again, it's the number one thing that we are looking for to come back to who are we?
mhm,
And we know who we are when we trust our intuition, but we've been indoctrinated, we've been corrupted in a way to reject our intuition, to suppress
mhm,
our intuition because that person knows better than me, whether it is our parents, whether it is our boss, whether it is our friend, our partner. Even as a kid, I remember being told there's no such thing as ghosts. I know I saw a spirit for sure. But the more and more you're told
mhm,
that, the more and more you're like, well, I guess I'm wrong.
mhm,
So we no longer see these things, right? We no longer trust our own inner guidance system. And I'm going to make sure that she fully trusts her guidance system because that's what's
mhm,
going to let her live the most liberated life. That's what's going to let her heal herself to
mhm.
manifest her dream partner, the amount of money that she wants, allow her to be that little light worker that all these new earth kids are.
Aw, she is a perfect mom. Like, I love what you're doing and what you're planning and what you're thinking about it. And it's a gift that you're giving her. Of course, you gave her the gift of life and everything, and you're taking care of her. But then there's this special gift that you're giving her, which is absolutely special.
And the spiritual development of a kid is highly overlooked. It's
Mhm,
not part of the development, the growth that we're looking for as moms, right? It's okay, is
mhm,
my child eating okay? Are they sleeping okay? Are they hitting those milestones? But where's that spiritual element? Where is
mhm,
that energetic development of their chakras? Because between the first year of life, their root chakra is being developed.
mhm,
So if we're not aware of that as moms, we're going to do things like put our child in a separate room to sleep, which instills the belief I am alone.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of us as adults are walking around with that belief that I am alone? How many of us were triggered during COVID with that belief?
Mm-hmm.
Because past generations, that was what they had to do. You put your baby in a separate room, you let them cry it out.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as adults, we're suffering from that, right? A lot of us have an underdeveloped root chakra, which is why a lot of us are struggling with money. A lot of us feel alone. A lot of us have hip pain and knee pain. And because we didn't have the knowledge or tools from our parents to focus on the development of that.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can add the spiritual element into those milestones, then we're setting our kids up for ultimate health later on down the road.
Mm. You made me just remember a movie. It came out like 2010, 2009 called Babies. I don't know if you ever saw it.
Oh, I
It
think it's on
followed,
Netflix.
it might be on Netflix now. It follows four babies. One is in Mongolia, one is in like Tokyo, so Japan, one is in San Francisco, so the US, and then another is somewhere in Africa. And you follow the first year of their development, and it's incredible to see the difference. I was curious watching it. I'm like, who's going to walk first? Who's going to be able to do the X, Y, and Z first?
Mhm.
And it was incredible to see. There was the baby in Mongolia who was with the mom a lot, but then it was in their homes, what is it called, like a yurt, and it would be with another baby. And even the baby in Africa who would be with other babies, they developed so much quicker. I could tell, you could tell in the movie because they were left to their own interests, but then they were also with the community and everything. And then you saw the child in San Francisco, and it was constantly being stimulated by these building blocks and this and this, and it's just overstimulation, and always crying, always saying no to certain things. And then like the Mongolian and baby in Africa, they were just like the most content because they just were out in nature if they needed to be. They figured out, oh, I want to see the sky. They made their way to the door, to the door. It was just so fascinating to watch.
Mhm.
If you haven't seen it, I really highly recommend it because you're just making me remember that movie because it shows that first year of a baby's life and how much development and growth occurs in that first year that, as you're saying, then translates to the rest of your life and your beliefs on finances, your relationships, your career, anything you do in life. So that's incredible to hear. So I don't know, that movie just came to mind.
It's also on my list to watch because I
Okay.
saw it on Netflix and I was like, oh my gosh, that looks so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for bringing that forward. I'm going to put it to the top of my list
No,
to watch.
absolutely. It was really, really good. And it was just one of these random movies my family and I went to go see. Came out on Mother's Day or something like that. So we went for Mother's Day and it was really interesting to see. So it is incredible just knowing, that first year of birth or after first year of life, I'm sorry, after birth, how much that affects your life.
Yeah, and like you said about the kids in Mongolia, how they're able to go outside when they want to or go in
Mm-hmm.
nature. And then you think about our school system, how
Mm-hmm.
they're forced to sit in a seat for a set amount of hours, to be quiet, to follow these rules. That again takes our kids away from that divine flow
Mm-hmm.
of, well, my soul says I got to go for a run
Right.
and they can't. And they feel restricted, and those chakras get more and more suppressed until kids end up having ADHD, end up
Mm-hmm.
having anxiety disorders, mental illness. And we're like, there's a rise of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're trying to shape every single person into this one mold
Mm-hmm.
when every child is different. Every child has their own unique abilities that they want to express to the world, that if allowed to, it would have them have that balanced energy center to feel prosperous, empowered, to love themselves, which as adults, again, we're all working on instilling within us.
Mm. Well, Emily, this has been such a beautiful conversation. I have loved hearing you speak about theta healing. It's beautiful how you connected with your daughter. Even after, the first few hours of you being together earthside was, challenging, you've been able to reconnect, and that is absolutely incredible to hear.
Thank you.
And before we end, can you share a little bit about your podcast as well?
Yeah, so I have a podcast called the Little Awakeners Podcast, which
Mhm.
is for conscious parents who are in this world of spirituality and wanting to learn from their greatest teachers, which are your kids. Your kids are going to
Mhm.
show you what you need to heal yourself, what needs to be done for them, for you, for the conscious collective. So it's diving deeper into all of those, our belief systems, how we can consciously parent these newer kids.
I love it. And Emily, can you share with the listeners where they can find you?
Yes, I do all my hangouts pretty much on Instagram. Theta with Emily, so THETA with Emily. I'm on Threads as well. I have my podcast, but you can always just send me a DM, and yeah, I will get back to you.
I'll leave everything in the show notes. Emily, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of From the Honeycomb podcast. As we conclude, I want to express my gratitude for joining me in today's episode. I hope you have found it insightful and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and click that like button so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to share this with your friends. You can follow me on Instagram at From the Honeycomb Podcast, and you can also further your support of From the Honeycomb by visiting the Patreon link provided in the show notes. Your contribution helps make more episodes possible. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to my monthly newsletter, A Spark of Positive Energy, that comes out on the 7th of each month. Thank you so much, and see you next Friday.